Welcome to LCS Waiting Room. Winners Bracket Day.
Woo!
It's
Whoa!
Winners Day.
Whoa!
We got Dokla as well joining. We were all winners today.
Yeah.
In Winners Day.
Yeah, every single one of
I'm
them.
a winner.
We're gonna pull up the updated bracket to see what's in store this weekend. Then we're gonna ask Dokla a few questions about his time so far in playoffs. But today we see C9 and FlyQuest. They're in the winners bracket. So no matter what, both these teams will be going to Raleigh. The winner, actually, because of the fact that they are seeded in finals, guarantees them top 2 and means they qualify for MSI. The loser today will be playing in Saturday against the winner of the match that we have tomorrow against Golden Guardians and EG. So Dokla, how have you been?
You know, just going through my feelings after losing, settling that, and then, you know, excited to be here. I'll watch the playoffs and see how it unfolds.
How long does it take to get through your feelings? Is it like one night of hard drinking and then like, you
No, I didn't do anything like that. Honestly, it was just like a couple of hours after the loss because it's like your season ended. There's no real like, no goal for like
you
the
just
immediate
wake up the
future.
next day and it's open?
Yeah, exactly. Like you can sleep till like 4 or stay up till like 4 a.m. if you want to. There's not really anything to wake up for. So just going through that, and then after like a day or two, like it just weighs in, and then you just get on and think about summer.
We have, this happened on broadcast, and I'm sure you saw it. It was the post game.
Yeah.
Walk us through, you were walking us through this earlier, actually.
Speaking of going through your feelings.
I think my coach whispered in my ear, "Oh, you're playing Zion again," and then
I knew it!
and then this is my immediate reaction. No, but this was obviously me just you know, voicing my frustrations. I was really tilted, and then before this, I actually looked for the cameras to see like if no cameras were around, and then they were just hiding in the bush or something because they just came out of nowhere and they caught me. Obviously, I'm very frustrated about how the last game went, and yeah, this is what it looks like. So you know,
I mean, it was amazing broadcast content.
Yeah.
Like it's always a tricky thing because people don't like seeing their emotions broadcast on stage, but I think it really is valuable for like the human experience of what you guys go through.
Yeah.
So it's always that balance, but it's too bad that like you're trying to hide from the camera, but at the same time, I do think it's a really genuine moment.
well, I don't think I was trying to hide. I was just seeing if it was there because usually they're like there in the beginning. But I would act that way regardless. I don't really care what like if anyone's watching. I mean, it's just a best of 5. You know, it's like it's just sports, and a lot of people go through moments where it's like, you know, losing and like you have to regain your focus. So I'm just like venting my frustrations and then trying to recoup after for the next game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's cool. I think that sometimes even like, you know, the world final shots, like you show the loser too long or you show the winner for something, you know, like I just think it's good to show emotion. It's a human
Mark,
game.
You and I talked about this, and this is going back a little bit. When you were on Team Liquid, that's when like the big doc dropped.
So I had left
breaking point.
technically.
Oh.
We were on Rebirth, and then I left, and then Breaking Point was that year. But I was still in all. I still had access to their scrims, so I got to watch a lot of that stuff go down before the video.
I don't know. Personally, when even Team Liquid is filming Squad, it actually changes the energy of the room. It's something that's really hard to get used to. As a player like
I mean, that was the same table where the infamous meme happened.
I think people even reference that.
I was channeling that energy from the same. I was channeling the energy.
Have you ever seen him in the same?
Yeah, it was like the same area of the table as well. So I was channeling the energy.
I will say I enjoy, there's of course that side of it, and then there's the positive side after the win when you're dropping the gritty. Like just in general, anything in front of the camera that you hit, I enjoy. It's the good stuff.
Yeah, it's fun to do. I mean, I'm not like laughing at them losing. It's just like, you know, I'm just happy that we won. So, you know, just a little gritty.
Speaking of winning, Cloud9 coaching staff of the split. That is official. It was voted on after the regular season. They are first place. Not a huge surprise. I think the biggest arguments for this, for those of you who did vote on them, a lot of people do decline to vote, but they switched mid laners in the middle of the year. It is largely a different coaching staff than they had last year, and congratulations to Cloud9.
And second place, just based off the voting, was pretty sure CLG. So,
Was it?
yeah.
Okay.
I think some people on your staff thought maybe they should have got first team for that.
Yeah.
They had a lot to work
No
with.
team, no players on All Pro, no coaching staff for the split, but they're fourth. You know,
Yeah, I mean, you do feel a little slighted, but obviously, I think I don't really mind too much. Obviously, like at least for me, like making it to an All-Pro team would be nice, and I guess that's gonna be my goal for summer. At least do that and then perform well individually. But obviously, it's hard to see behind the scenes of like how valuable like coaches are. But for me personally, I think Soaz on our staff is like really valuable for me. So. Obviously, people can't really see that.
I don't know what it is. I'd forgotten that you had Soaz on the staff because I see all the coaches here. Is he a remote coach or is he?
No, he's here.
He's in person.
Does he
Yeah.
come to LCS?
Yeah.
In
the hallway.
I haven't seen him in the hall.
seen him walk
I've seen Apollo, Demonte, Croissant, Thinkcard. I haven't
they have
seen
so many
Soaz.
ex-pros too. You're like, wait,
Yeah.
there's another.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's hard to gauge the effectiveness, but he's been really helpful for me. So, but that goes unnoticed. But to me, like you know, he's my coaching staff of the split.
There it is.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Personal Dokla Award.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one I'm interested in is mid lane. This is not about awards because the mid lane All Pro happened. This was us saying who would we want as our mid laner right now, and we all had
Oh, you guys are
different
crazy.
lists.
You guys are crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am basing mine 100% off the series that were played last weekend because it's like who you got right now. And VicLa had the most individually dominant performance last weekend. He's smurfed on Bjergsen.
So for me, it was the fact that I feel like Emenes and VicLa are even for me, where they're just so mechanically talented, but I feel like they're both, and in this very matchup, are just gonna keep bashing their heads together, which means one of them's gonna end up significantly ahead of the other.
Okay.
Also, JoJo, the reason why I picked
Yeah,
him.
please
is
explain JoJo.
The idea is like who you got for the rest of playoffs, right? The reason why I picked JoJo is because in situations, especially in these playoff runs, where he's had to step up and had to perform as a carry for this team, we've seen him do that, right? This is the time when JoJo is going to turn it on because it's the more competitive part of the split. It's playoffs. He desperately wants to go back to the international stage.
Okay. I know Emily, Raz, Mark all put Gory as first team All Pro for the regular season. That's obviously a different question here, but none of you put them top. And Raz, I want to know why you have Emenes as number one.
Emenes is an insane playmaker for me. Like if he was playing throughout the entire regular season, he would have been my first team All-Pro. So I think that was like the only reason why he wasn't there for me in that voting. But yes, I had him as my top mid laner. I think his high highs are great. Obviously, people will shine a light on the Jace performance in the last day. I don't count it that much. And Gory, the level of consistency that he has is great. Yes, All-Pro there, makes sense. Probably the biggest carry right now in Golden Guardians. I think that the top two there, for me, are clear.
For me with Emenes, I am a little spooked about nerves, actually. Because I think he's an amazing player, amazing hands. His first game in the LCS, he played poorly. The tiebreaker game and the Jace game against COG at the end of the regular season, he
Jace
played poorly.
Incident.
The North American Jace incident.
Yeah, Jace incident. And even the whole series, I thought Palafox was going toe-to-toe to him a lot of the time. That's not to say Palafox isn't a top player, but I think there's more pressure in the playoffs. So that's why I wasn't willing to put him number one. I still have him, you know, same level as Mark, one above Emily. But I think that's going to be really interesting today, the pressure that Emenes feels as like an LCS rookie.
Yeah.
Who's played like 10 games.
I think the one person that I had, you guys had JoJo up pretty high.
Yeah.
I had him as third above VicLa, mostly because it's like, well, the last series, kind of agreeing to you guys, like the last series that we saw with JoJo was quite good. And on top of that, like we've seen what JoJo has been at his peak and he's not there yet. But I kind of expect him to be there. So VicLa gets the bottom end of that stick, but you have VicLa pretty damn high.
Well, like I said, mine's literally based off just last weekend in a chamber. Gory was the worst performer by a lot last weekend. Doesn't speak. I don't care about him All-Pro first team. I care about what you did for me last weekend. And he had like the one Galio game I think was really good. Otherwise, not that great. Whereas VicLa smurfed 3 games in a row.
Dokla, you don't have a pre-populated list. Is one of our lists the best, or would you do different?
Honestly,
Choose favorites.
I don't even pay attention to mid lane, to be honest. Like I'm not gonna, like honestly, I think about
Your answer.
I think about jungle, like who's the better jungle on their team and what champion they're playing, and if they can come to my lane.
Which mid laner is most likely to
Whoever
come
plays
to your lane?
Kalia is your favorite one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which of the four is most likely to come top?
Probably I don't know, because it's generally dictated by like jungle getting mid move to come to side.
Emenes was coming up to your lane level 3 though sometimes, man.
Yeah, he was a fan.
Yeah,
I mean,
Big fan.
so probably Emenes, I guess, but I don't know. It really depends on like mid jungle synergy, because I think that's even more important now than like ever. Yeah, it's like mid to X, but it's like to get mid push, you need to have your jungle hover you. So I think the 2v2 is like a big thing. I don't really see mid laner as like a individually dominant role, but I haven't been paying attention to like mid that much either, so yeah.
Top lane, Mark, you were thinking throughout the week, how dominated top lane has actually been by a select few.
Yeah, let's talk about a role that Dokla does know, top laners. Okay. Go ahead and look at this. We were just discussing, Fudge feels like the best recently, but Impact last year was voted best top laner in North American history. And when you look at the last 5 years since franchising started, they have won 7 of the 10 titles between them. Impact obviously ripped off 4 in a row in that sequence with Doublelift. Then there was this little bit of time in 2020 where neither of them were in prominence, but then Fudge has won 2 of the last 4. Impact grabbed another one. Sunday's the only one to sneak in between them. So it just speaks about the fact that right now the LCS kind of runs through these 2 guys, and once again, they are in winners finals.
Yeah, I mean, not really surprised. I think they're like definitely top 3 in their role, and they're really consistent. And they play like well for their team, and they do what it's like required for them to win. So makes sense that they've won so much and have been for so long. So
what do you think Impact does differently than Fudge?
There we go.
Okay, whenever I play Impact, he plays around jungle really well, and he's really aware of like where wards are for you and for him. So then he conveys that information to jungle really well, and then they look for creative gank angles. And this theory that, or like this perception that Impact is like a weak side player, but I think he just plays the game like correctly.
I just don't die to ganks. You're a weak side player.
Yeah. It's like, it's hard to gank him because he respects on timer as well, and sometimes like over respects, but that's like better than to like just die. So, and I think Fudge is like enabled through like his team pretty well. Like if Blaber is playing around top, then I think he does a really good job of like snowballing that lane and is able to carry.
I'm curious what you think about this, because Fudge seems like the type of player who like drills matchups and drills waves a lot. Like, oh, on 4th wave, this is what should be happening. I should be able to dive. And then he would communicate that and have his jungler coordinated. Like, do you think because of that, or more general question, do you think Fudge is a better laner than Impact, or does he just have better laning stats because he gets more resources?
Honestly, for me, I can't generalize it. I usually think about it like matchup to matchup wise. Like I have an idea in my head like how a certain matchup will go and like what's expected plus and minus in that lane. Yeah. And then I base it off that, not necessarily like the player playing the matchup. So I have like a different view of it as like a player, but yeah, so that's how I kind of go about it. I don't really think about it the way you described.
So, okay, do you think Fudge more often has the matchups that are likely to be favored in the plus minus?
No, I think like both of them just get like top lane is like pretty like stale right now. At least like when it's tank versus tank. Like I think Sion K'Sante, it's kind of intricate matchup. I think K'Sante wins the lane phase. You can get like a 10-15 CS lead, maybe a play or 2, depending on like how you control the wave. And then Sion just gets tanky, but it's about your playmaking, how you can like snowball that into like first rift or like keep compounding the small lead that you have.
It's funny because the split has gone down it feels like it's been a quick split. Yeah. But I just like, what do you think that either of these players, anything that comes to mind that they've improved on throughout the split? Because a lot of the times fans don't generally see a level of improvement. You've seen them in scrims at least a few times, right? Yeah. So you can see from start to end at something that they've now gotten a hold of. Have you noticed anything that they've kind of
honestly, no. I mean, they're just consistent.
Worse.
I mean, honestly, no, they're just consistent. I think scrims and stage are much different, just in terms of like how bloody people are willing to be. Yeah. So it's definitely like you can get a read on scrims, but then at the same time it's like completely different how to play on stage. I think whenever when we played C9 on stage, like I felt like almost like no pressure in lane. It just all was like macro based decisions that like led to us losing. But so I don't really feel pressure in lane. And when we scrim FlyQuest, I don't really feel that way either. So it's just depends on like the big picture overall.
That makes sense.
All right, thanks a lot. We've talked about mid, top time for jungle. There's a lot of history between Spica and Blaber, and Emily has prepared us a timeline.
Let's go.
All right.
Because, so I had the pleasure of following both of these players at 2017 Scouting Grounds. We've talked about this before. Probably the biggest scouting grounds. A ton of players came out of this. But this is where Spica was drafted 2nd overall by Echo Fox, and Blaber was drafted 9th overall by C9. You'll see a little bit, Spica's a little quiet at first. That's actually because he was finishing high school at the time. So the first year, he only really started for Echo Fox Academy towards the end of that split. Meanwhile, C9 had a plan for Blaber where he debuted in summer 2018 because he moved up from the academy team and they started doing this rotating roster thing. They went from 10th, ripped off 8 straight wins, competed in playoffs, and then unexpectedly became the first NA team to be a Worlds semifinalist. Meanwhile, Spica in 2019 in summer, that was his LCS debut. He was unexpectedly called up to join the team after TSM was really struggling with their jungle position and who they wanted to start. Blaber's career continues to take off in spring 2020, where C9 has one of the most dominant splits in LCS history. He wins his first MVP title there, but that summer, C9 would actually unexpectedly fail to qualify for Worlds. Meanwhile, Spica, coming back from TSM Academy, promoted to the TSM main team, wins the summer split, which was also kind of unexpected, and attends the World Championship. This is also, unfortunately, the 0-6 9-man sleep meme time. Meanwhile, Blaber, spring 2021. C9 continues to be dominant, wins his 2nd MVP title, goes to MSI. This is where the Crabber meme comes from, by the way. And Bjerg and Doublelift retiring made it so that TSM actually built their roster around Spica. That summer, Spica wins his first MVP title. Last year, C9 had a really dominant spring, fell in summer, but came back to win fell in spring, but came back to win the summer title. Meanwhile, TSM had a lot more struggles with their team. This past offseason, Spica now joins this star-studded FlyQuest lineup. Meanwhile, Blaber could actually be in line for his 3rd spring MVP title.
Let's go.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
I like that.
Their parallel history is actually so cool.
I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is like how low they were drafted in scouting grounds, because as a player, like you can just tell when a person is good. So when I saw Blaber go like 9th and Spica 11th, I was like, it's like, do these people know how to scout or like what they're looking for? 'Cause, like,
I think
There's a little
tomfoolery
behind the
in scouting ground drafts.
scenes.
Yeah, I mean,
shenanigans.
people like know that a player is just going to sign with the team.
Yeah,
Because the way scouting grounds used to work was a team would get like exclusive negotiation rights for it.
Yeah.
But a lot of
Bro.
times there was like already agreement for
Back-
scouting
yeah,
ground.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
they
yeah.
go.
Yeah, I mean that makes more sense.
Yeah,
I
Spica
forgot about that.
was 16 and Blaber was like going to go.
Yeah,
That's
but
crazy.
obviously, like I played with Spica, and then it's not unexpected to me that he's like very successful, because I thought he was really good, and I thought when we played with him on spring 2020, so like when we were doing internals, like we were always being the main team during that time, and it wasn't like that was TSM was going through like a bit of turmoil that split, and it wasn't unexpected for me to see him called up, because I thought he was like performing really well, and I saw the potential in him, and now everyone can see it as well.
I think it's also cool to just see the difference in how their career shaped, because Blaber went to C9 and it's very smooth, like, okay, you get subbed in for some games, you're splitting time, now you're the starter. Whereas Spica changed teams from Echo Fox to TSM up to LCS, kind of like last minute because of that crazy Acadian Greg situation, and then back down, back up. Then he left TSM, now he's on FlyQuest. Like, Spica's just had to go through more stuff.
A lot.
Yeah.
He's gone through some stuff, I'd say.
He's
Yeah.
seen some shit.
And not a lot of
I was gonna say, but yeah.
not a lot of people have survived that call up. When they're just your upper team is like going through stuff and you're just being called up,
Oh
especially
yeah, that
for
could have just
playoffs.
ruined Spica.
That could just ruin you.
He'd just be gone.
But he was able to like survive off that, perform well enough, and then find his like an actual landing spot the next split after that. So that was nice to see, and his career's been moving on greatly
And
after that.
pulling it to present day, they are like the premier NA rivalry. They're numbers 1 and 2 in jungle, both NA players. And Blaber might win MVP. We don't know. The voting's done. We won't see the results. I'm sure Spica was getting some votes.
Yeah.
And the stats are pretty good.
It was back and forth between the two of them. Spica had a much higher kills and assists at 14, not on the graphic here. He was actually #1 in the league. Blaber was like 6, I think, because Blaber, as you can see, had a lot more focus on counter jungling and farming up his own camps and stuff like that.
Yeah, we have champion pools as well. Spica had a lot of tanks at the start of the split. Blaber has played them, but you can see here the number of champions that Blaber has been able to dabble in that aren't within the shared pool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it also goes to show like how creative both players are, and how willing they are to like play off-meta stuff. And I think that's what like separates them. They just have fun playing the game, honestly, and they talk a lot as jungler is very important, and they're very like social with their teams, especially Spica. So that is kind of like a
X factor almost.
Yeah, it's like an attribute that junglers have that like enhance them because they mesh well with their teams and are able to like, just communicate more freely because that's just how they naturally talk.
That makes sense. And I would say the biggest difference that I see between both of these players, and it's mostly, I think, just the team that they're on, is just that Blaber, I think, has a lot more confidence in being able to play level 6 type junglers when he's playing Nocturne. He can just farm up. He doesn't need to visit lanes. Whereas Spica is playing a lot more gank-oriented junglers. I see the Amumu there. He's just generally playing more gank-heavy junglers because he has VicLa, Prince, like, they're fighting.
Yeah, and also it was that bot lane meta where it's like first jungle the bot can win the game.
Yeah.
And Amumu has 2 bandage tossers, so you can get your flash and then keep going on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another thing that's really cool with these teams is we have the top laners who have been basically destroying LCS titles 7 of the last 10. We have the 2 NA junglers who followed very similar paths. The 2 AD carries have also followed kind of similar paths. So Berserker and Prince are both young AD carries from the LCK. Berserker in particular in 2020, kind of start of COVID, went through a number of T1 Academy teams. They have a very built out Academy system. Pretty much came over here because LS had the relationship with T1 and was able to convince him that it was going to be okay. Even though LS didn't last very long on Cloud9, Berserker has stayed. It's kind of a small miracle that he is on C9, considering he was such a touted prospect.
And it's different than a lot of Korean people who join the LCS. They come in the middle or tail end of their careers. And for Prince, it's a similar thing.
Prince is on .1 for game.
Don't forget, but for Prince, it's a similar thing where, he had one incredible year in the LCK. Berserker had his in the Challenger system, but Prince was making a huge name for himself on Live Sandbox. He was picking up a ton of awards. And then to see him come over after a split like that while still being so young to the LCS is surprising, I think, for a lot of people. And out of nowhere, like this rivalry between them has blossomed. They didn't play in LCK. They didn't have any history prior to this split.
Now they have beef.
And now suddenly, just like with the All-Pro voting, with the MVP discussion, suddenly there's beef between these two guys.
Yeah, so some context for what we're going to see about their small spat on Twitter. I think Prince was going to be the MVP most of the year. Then Berserker did crush him in the last week. And after losing, Prince popped this off, which gave a little bit of reaction from the rest of the
Berserker with the Monka.
Who's going to be standing in the hospital, Prince?
This is after the Berserker Draven game that beat them in the tiebreaker. And then this is recent.
This is from
Leading
this
up for
morning.
today, yeah.
Yeah.
To decide who gets to go to the hospital.
Oh, God,
I mean, Prince is not bad. Like, you beat him once in a game, he does not care. His ego is just fine.
Yeah, I like that they're just very vocal on how they feel, and obviously, like, you don't think someone's better than you, especially
Just
when you're
'cause they
playing
won a
them.
game.
Yeah,
They got that dog in him, huh?
yeah, literally, they got that dog in them. So,
I've seen that quote everywhere on the Reddit now after you said that.
yeah, I mean, yeah, so it's nice just to see them vocal on Twitter, and it just brings more like hype
Yes.
to the game.
Okay, so going all the way back to All-Pro voting.
Yeah.
2 people on the end here. One of you voted Berserker, one of you voted Prince.
That was Prince.
You were Prince, Emily was
I was Berserker.
We're starting with you.
Yeah. So, Berserker. I think the underrated thing about Berserker is that in the games that C9 have not been able to get ahead, Berserker will pop off with plays like this. Yes, it's a Zeri pentakill. You can like roll your eyes,
I've
blah,
never
blah,
seen
blah.
that, actually.
Oh my God, that's
But I
crazy.
do think like the
I'm already snoozing.
get out of here. Even when C9 make mistakes in the early to mid game, right? They can always rely on Berserker to come back in teamfights. And well before this year, it was actually last year where we would critique Berserker's laning a lot more than we would critique his team fighting, right? This year, he has the laning. This is going to be the Draven Renata combo. Yeah, watch him right there. This is the sick Draven Quadra kill up in the top lane. I think the biggest development from Berserker from last year to this year is that in laning with Zven, their laning stats are better. They're able to play a lot of these pushing or just super aggressive bot lanes like this Draven to really destroy their
He is him. Look at him. He is him.
It's against your boy, too,
That's
Raz.
the MVP right there.
Yeah, I don't think tiebreakers count. It's not part of the regular season.
I will say also, though, he only died 13 times in 18 games. Like, the responsibility with the gold lead that he gets is why I appreciate it so much for AD carries in particular, to be like, you have gold, you're doing damage, and you're not dying.
Yeah, especially, like, I remember I was playing Yone against him, like, last year in, like, summer. It's like, this guy is really hard to kill. Like, usually I can catch people out with Yone ult, but, like, he's really aware of, like, which key abilities he needs to dodge in the team fights, and he's very aware of that. And it's really, he positions well. Obviously, like, the team is also helping him out, but, like, he's very aware of, like, how to keep himself, like, in a good spot.
I agree with that. And so, like, I think it makes sense going up against Prince that we kind of showcase similar highlights throughout the split. And you talked about being able to dodge abilities. This one is great. He was the one that started the fight. Got actually tower aggro at the beginning, bait the Lulu ultimate. This is really early on in the split, and so they were able to get a double kill. We don't need to
that's
talk
where you
about
have to get most of his highlights, too, because they were early on.
Okay, all right. This is also the end of the week. This is also week 8. And so this Zeri highlight is different, okay?
Yours was boring.
I've actually never seen this. Oh my god.
Yeah, oh, this is crazy, right? This is when he comes at an angle in the blue buff pit.
Wow, Zeri got a handset.
Yeah, I know, right? Shocker.
so
What a flash.
So this one was even a faster pentakill than the one that you had.
Wow.
So,
It was faster.
And as a reminder, people everywhere, it was not just this pentakill. He's also a 2-time holder of Player of the Week. So I think he has that already. Just in this split, more accolades.
Yeah, I mean, regardless, a really awesome matchup. Prince Berserker,
Yeah.
the story, and
Agreed.
the All-Pro AD carry race. Blaber Spica, first and second All-Pro. Fudge Impact, first and second All-Pro. They've been back and forth for first place all year. They won't guarantee first place by winning this, but they will guarantee their spot in the finals. So we need to get 2 predictions. We got 1 minute and 30 seconds before we're done here. So let's go down the line.
Whoa.
Big jokes.
I guess I care about the plan and no one else
for it.
does. Yeah, I think it's 3-2 for them.
But the planet.
I just believe in, like, I think people just level up as playoff goes on. And obviously I think, like, FlyQuest will come out a lot better and be more ready to, like, adapt to, like, what C9 has to throw at them just with the week of practice. So I'm kind of a FlyQuest believer. Yeah.
I did a quick deep dive, if that makes sense, of skimming through all of the C9 and FlyQuest games from the split. And the things I noticed is C9 is way more likely to blow a game open, and FlyQuest had a lot of really, really close games. They had so many games that were very slow. Prince would find a way to get like 3 kills, and then they'd win a team fight and take Baron. Like, their games were decided off of like one team fight more often than not, whereas C9's games oftentimes were these blow-open games.
Also, I'm playing on
they're more likely to
I'm
win.
praying on C9's downfall for no particular reason.
Yeah. Maybe something happened last week.
No particular reason.
Mark, really
yeah.
quick, 10 seconds.
I was just going to throw out that C9 struggled a little bit against you guys last week, and Blaber himself said that if they don't play better, they think that they could drop this series to FlyQuest. So they do have to play a little bit better.
All right, that is it from the LCS Lounge. I'm sorry, Raz, you'll be here. You'll be here after.
That's fair. No, I was just counting him down on that 10 seconds.
Winners bracket final starts now.
Did I do it?
Yeah.
Oh.
DG are back in style.
Playoffs mean big moments. There's more eyes on you. There's more chance to be remembered. More chances to make big plays in big moments. That's kind of what I play for.
No way, Golden Guardians! Have they done it?
I just never felt like I could truly win until I played with this roster. I'm kind of like putting up my heart into this playoffs.
6-8? Oh my god! 6-8 Trace 1, he flashes back, he's still alive!
Every situation as it could be my last, you know? So I'm kind of just putting all I have into it, and I think this is my best chance ever.
These guys are back in form, and I think if you're every other team in the playoffs, you're doing a double take now.
It's definitely going to be a close match, I think, now against FlyQuest. To be honest, I do think I'm the better top laner.
Yeah, at least the game. But not this time, I'm gonna win.
Musio's gonna be taken down, half Dylan taken down! Impact got him again!
I have confidence that we're going to beat them again, and I don't feel like Impact necessarily puts a lot of pressure on me in laning phase or like does anything exceptionally better.
I think Fudge is a good player. His name page kind of big.
Impact thinks it's going to be a top die situation again in his favor, but I think he should have stick to tanks, personally.
He's going in for the end of the game! A stand from Cloud9!
Gentlemen, welcome back to the LCS playoffs. I'm Captainflowers. It is my pleasure to welcome Isaac Azael Cummings-Bentley back here to the casting desk
It's good
with
to be
us. Back here after having your...
My nose has been upgraded.
His nose has been upgraded.
I can breathe.
And I'm smelling a series here today. We got the winners bracket final about to go down between the two teams setting up behind us right now. So without any further ado, why don't we go ahead and introduce who's playing here today. First up, they dominated the regular season early on, and they were the boogeyman under everybody's bed. It's FlyQuest. Opponents surging to life on the back end of the split and making everybody aware of it. Please welcome Cloud9. One of these two teams with a win here today not only secures their spot in the grand final in Raleigh to play for the LCS title, but also guarantees themselves a trip to MSI.
To be honest, I do think I'm the better top laner.
His name page kind of big. I think then top tier player.
I don't feel like Impact necessarily puts a lot of pressure on me in laning phase or like does anything exceptionally better than the other top laners in playoffs, to be honest.
He really smart about game, I think, and he really good at move over map in the map, and he really good over team fight, I think. But at this time, I'm gonna win.
He is still probably the second best top laner, so I still respect him, and I still think he's good.
I don't know who's gonna die, but top die, you know.
So I heard Impact thinks it's going to be a top die situation again in his favor, but I think he should stick to tanks, personally.
Oh, I love a little bit of pregame trash talk between these guys, man. Fudge and Impact. These two are a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just so funny, though, because we have Fudge there. Yeah, he doesn't really do anything special. He's the same as there at the top line here. And they go right to Impact. Impact just being so complimentary, you know? Like,
oh, yeah,
he's
dude.
great at laning. He's great at team fighting. He's handsome. He's smart, you know? Fudge is doing the man dirty.
And I love the head-to-head with these two guys, because the way I see it, Impact is the GOAT top laner in the LCS. This guy's been at it for so long. He's been at the top for so long. He plays so many different champions. This dude is the best top laner the league has ever had. And Fudge is currently the best top laner in the league. This is the guy that could hit that status after a few more years, and those sorts of head-to-heads never leave you wanting more. Oh, always leave you wanting more, but never in the moment. They always deliver. I should have put it that way.
Absolutely. We got there. It's cool. But it's one of those things you also have to remember about Impact is it's not only about his success in the regular season. He's had a lot of that, but the reason to me that he is the LCS Go top laner is because of how he steps up in the important matches. Matches like we are watching here today. Impact is always able to kick it into another gear come playoff time, come international. This guy really does step up and compete with and do better than a lot of the best top laners in the world. So Fudge, I think, is going to have to pay that respect over to him.
Big games and big stages usually invoke a feeling of clutch or kick in players. Some players clutch, some players get kicked, and Impact is a clutch master in those situations. So let's go ahead and see what we're going to be dealing with this game, as it's Vi, Sejuani, and Ahri banned out by Cloud9, targeting that jungle pool pretty heavily there from Spica. Over on the other side, Annie, Jace, and Elise all banned away. So C9 are quick to lock in the Maokai for themselves. Response from FlyQuest, the Zeri, and then the Wukong for Spica.
Yeah, we got Zeri, the Pentakill Pikachu, locked in for Prince in game number 1. We pretty much already know it's going to be Zeri Lulu on that side, unless Cloud9 is willing to go for some sort of a takeaway here, to actually look to try to grab that away. Varus would make a lot of sense as an answer. It is a really strong laner, has been very high prio, throughout the world, really. With multiple different builds. We're even seeing some AP Varus pop up in the LEC now, which I know a lot of people have been wanting to see, but there's Poke Varus, there's on hit, there's AP. There's a lot of different angles that you can go for. It's a very strong laner, great team fighter, especially when you have point and click CC. The ultimate becomes very, very reliable. People like to talk about how it's hard to hit this Varus ultimate. It's not when a Maokai W sets it up for you. It's not when that Maokai R is there to lock them down for you. So already Cloud9 locking in a beefy front line here and a lot of engage as well as follow-up.
And over on the other side, you want to talk about engage. They are foregoing the Lulu.
Okay.
They don't want to take the Enchanter approach. Instead, a bit more playmaking, a bit more decision-making power for Eyla here in the support role, locking in the Rakan next to the Zeri. So the interesting thing, both sides have their junglers, both sides have their AD carry, but with Cloud9 opting to go for their top laner in the Cassante, instead of picking up the support there for the Varus, probably wanted to see what the matchup would be in its entirety against the FlyQuest bot lane in the 2v2. We're going to see things be a little different between the two sides in the second half of the bans, as Renata is banned out by FlyQuest and Sion is banned out by C9.
And one of the strengths about early picking your top laner in this position, because they are expecting FlyQuest to go support on 3, is that then you can throw multiple top lane bans and really kind of pinch the pool here, right? So if C9 is only worried about impact on tanks, well, you ban out Sion, you can even potentially ban out something like a Cho'Gath if you really want to try to limit that pool and try to push him off what you believe his comfort to be.
And the Kennen ban here from FlyQuest, respecting the fact that this is Cloud9, this is a flex Cassante. Yep. Not every team, not every player plays this, but C9 does. And that extra flex power makes me like this pick for C9 on that third selection even more. So let's see what they want to round this out with. They already banned out the biggest meatball in the top lane. They're going to take out the Veigar as well. This has been getting a lot more picks recently, a lot more attention. It's been pretty strong in the situations where it feels good to pick it.
Yeah, absolutely. VicLa has won both of his games on the Veigar. Emenes has not actually played it yet. It does feel like maybe a little bit outside of the norm for him. He's generally moving more towards those earlier game picks, those more aggressive picks. Has played a lot of Jace, a lot of LeBlanc, a couple games of the Yone, and now a couple games of that Cassante as well. It's going to be the Renekton here, so going for a little bit more of an aggressive option. I really do like the Renata ban here when you're looking at what FlyQuest has actually drafted. It's 3 champs that want to go straight at you, that want to go in, heavily prioritizing that engage. Renata would make things very difficult. It's going to be the Heimer support here for C9, so drafting heavily for that 2v2, but it's also something that can be difficult to actually hard engage into. When you have those turrets down, you drop the ulti turret, that can be really difficult to actually fight through. And it's going to be Trist mid. So it's going to be Trist mid for Emenes. This is something that has actually been gaining a lot of popularity in the solo queue. It is a very strong early pick here. There is theoretically potential for them to flex it still up towards top, but I've been seeing literally 0 Tristana top, so I am expecting it to be mid. I'm gonna be interested to see what they actually bring out here. Viktor as the answer is someone that can poke you down, can outrange you. So much of these kind of matchups are gonna be about actually avoiding the E from VicLa and finding windows with the spells on cooldown to get aggressive. Tristana needs to play aggressive into these long range mages to find these really good trades. You have to use your rocket jump, get in on top of them, get a really high value explosive shot and try to win those trades. If you sit back and you play too passively, you're often going to get poked down in these matchups. So I do think it's something that really fits the style that Emenes wants to play. and it is going to really give them some high consistent DPS. It's a champion that can play side lane as well later on with both the rocket jump and the buster shot for peel. The self peel is really good against the Wukong, against the Rakan engages, so I think it fits pretty well, but it's something that you have to really execute at a high level on, or it's gonna flop.
Yeah, this champion makes sense as a solo laner and not just a traditional bottom lane marksman. You talked about the safety. You have inherent, very powerful wave push with the passive of the explosive shot. You don't have to worry about having to supplement that with itemization choices. And then recently the changes to marksman items, to crit items in particular, allowing you to hit a better power spike around 2 items instead of needing to wait for 3. That's really important because of the fact that you're not going to hit that trough in the mid game. You're still going to be able to transfer those early leads into something, and the turret pushing power speaks for itself. Let's get this underway. Cloud9 and FlyQuest. Winner automatically finds themselves in the finals in North Carolina here next weekend and punches a ticket to MSI, guaranteed.
Very high stakes, and FlyQuest 4-stacking Pixel Brush here. They are going to go for some sort of a late invade to at least get vision. I don't think it's going to be any sort of a full commit on taking a buff away. It's obviously too early for that, but they really want to get eyes on where this Maokai is going to be starting here. So we'll see if they're going to be able to do that. At the same time, though, K'Sante moving up towards the top side can potentially get some vision down here. And Impact going to be walking with Spica to help clear this out. They know that there is a possibility of someone laying in wait, so gonna have to push him out.
Especially because it's Fudge. He really likes trying to interfere with these junglers early on in the game. If you give him the opportunity, he's gonna find his way into the jungle, get a couple of auto attacks, just mess with the guy a bit and set him slightly behind, which can end up making a difference.
Yeah, exactly. And you're only gonna put slightly behind if you have the protection of your top laner. If you don't have the protection of your top laner and the enemy top laner is hitting you while you're doing a Lethal start on your red buff, you actually can't do it.
It's a little bit rough to deal with, absolutely, certainly. But now, we got a coach interview ready here on the sideline. Let's go ahead and toss over, see what they got to say.
Thanks, Lars. I'm here with FlyQuest assistant coach Richard. How do you feel like that draft went?
I think it went pretty well. The structure of the draft more or less went exactly how we had expected to. Maybe the champions not so much. But I think both sides are more or less pretty happy with what they ended up with, and they both have pretty clear win cons, and it's just about how the execution goes.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that C9 flex picked the K'Sante again, probably not a big surprise, and you ended up 5 picking the Viktor. But when you say win conditions, what's FlyQuest win condition for this game?
Well, the enemy team has a much stronger bottom lane, so they're going to try to use that to stack as many dragons as possible. Our objective here is just to try and survive the early pressure, and then if we can do that, then we'll be in a pretty good shape to win, because Zeri at level 6 with Rakan is like, you can just get caught out so easily if you make random mistakes. So yeah, that should be out fine.
All right, thanks a lot, Richard. I'll let you get back to watching. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if C9 can create a large advantage. You know, they are playing double Comet in this bottom lane. They are playing, you know, really strong 2v2. You can see Prince even started boots and pots because he knows that this entire lane is just about how much poke he can sidestep. How many rockets can you avoid? How many grenades can you actually dodge out from? How many piercing arrows and E's from the Varus can you avoid? Because that is going to dictate how much you can actually stay around and farm in this lane. And that is going to dictate a lot of the game. Because if this poke lane gets way too far ahead, the Zeri's going to be set very, very far behind, and that is, you know, that main teamfight win condition that they're going to have later on.
Teamfight power is definitely there for FlyQuest as the clock moves forward. Between the Zeri and the Viktor, these guys are going to have tons of AoE, tons of damage, and plenty of range to apply it from, with a couple of different really solid engage mechanisms in Wukong and Rakan as well. Yeah. But it's what we heard about in the interview. It's about surviving that early pressure. Cloud9 is a team that is not afraid to play aggressively early. They're not afraid to draft aggressively. And Blaber now finding himself down here around this bottom lane as the wave is crashing in again, clears out the ward, fires off the Scryer, doesn't want to do any sort of crazy dives, so just going to go ahead and pick up this bot side Scuttlecraft.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's interesting because very clearly FlyQuest is built almost purely for 5v5. I think Cloud9, you know, is more about some of that early pressure. You know, they can potentially play a little bit more side lane with the Tristana later on, but they have a pretty strong team for 5v5 as well. As long as you're not actually getting flanked, as long as you have those angles covered, which is pretty easy to do with both Heimer turrets and Maokai saplings, I think it can be pretty difficult to get to that back line. And if it is Cloud9 that are first to these objectives, trying to actually walk in through these brushes, through those saplings, through the poke from the Varus and the Heimer, and potential engage from K'Sante and Maokai is going to be really, really difficult. So I do actually quite like the way that Cloud9 have drafted here, and we'll see if FlyQuest can really kind of match that.
And I like you bringing up the poke of the Varus, because one thing that normally becomes the criticism of the poke Varus build is, okay, but if you don't end the game fast enough, later on in team fights, you're not going to have the DPS to equal your opponents. They got Tristana.
Yep.
So we've got a crit marksman.
Got the backup ADC in the mid lane.
We've got a bow and arrow marksman, and we've got a gun marksman.
Makes sense that the gun guy scales better.
Yeah, the gun guy moves forward. He's future-proof. But we do have...
We're in like the Stone Ages now. The early game is the Stone Ages.
Yeah, you have the club, and then later on you get to have a sword or something.
Varus is just guy with the bow and the arrow, and Tristana comes in, you know, all futuristic, dropping out of the helicopter.
That works for me, man. But we'll see if it works for C9 as Eyla's moving into mid here, try to find a little pressure on Emenes early, but Emenes playing far back enough, recognizing, hey, there are multiple players on FlyQuest that are currently not on the map. They might be making a move. Let's play this safe.
It's also worth noting that it is going to be overheal Tristana, and with the Vamp Rush, it feels like he may potentially be playing this less aggressive and actually just trying to out-sustain the poke. You know, I talked about in a lot of these matchups when you are playing Tristana against some of the control mages, you can just kind of get lasered down, poked down. But if you can get to an early Bloodthirster, that becomes pretty irrelevant. You know, he obviously has the early Vamp. You know, from this Vamp Scepter, he has the Doran's Blade. So he is just going to be really indexing on that lifesteal to try to just survive. And then in these kind of matchups, it becomes about taxing your opponent's mana. So he gets pushed mid. You can see VicLa's low on mana, so it's difficult for him to actually move and match that push. And Emenes is just going to be able to rotate down to this dragon. Cloud9, shortly after spawn here, going to take a 6-minute dragon. We'll see if FlyQuest wants to contest. Eyla and Prince are moving up, and Spica and VicLa are coming over here, but it's too late.
Blaber's a little bit low, but he just wants to go in on Prince instead. He knows he's likely to die, so why not take somebody with him? It's first blood over to Emenes, and Blaber finally drops in response, but Prince has been taken out too. VicLa has to get away, because Emenes is dumping auto attacks into his back. He'll manage to get away from this one. Speak is still off to the side, might find an angle here on Emenes, who's just clearing out some control wards. He sees the enemy jungle, does not want to stick around any longer. Unfortunately, cannot get the last hit on that control ward. Cloud9, they get the Drake, and they get the edge in the after fight.
Yeah, that is a big early win here for Cloud9. I'm a little bit surprised that FlyQuest actually elected to try to contest here. You know, the setup was just a lot better for C9. You know, you see Viktor and Wukong entering, but it's pretty late. They're looking for the fight afterwards. That Q from Blaber, though, actually interrupting the W from Eyla, stopping that CC, and proccing his phase rush was so well timed. That allows him to get back. Yes, he does eventually die, but it costs the flash of Spica. It means that the rest of the team is dying in the meanwhile, so 2 kills to 1, you grab that dragon, you get first blood here on Emenes, who's gonna have a lot of gold in pocket. You get the other kill onto your Varus. Both of them are gonna be out to early leads here. It's about 500-600 gold in mid lane and more like 300-400 down in that bot lane. But Cloud9 gonna be feeling really good about their position after that.
And it's exactly what we heard in the coach interview. Cloud9 wants to play for these dragons. They want to play around their bottom side strength, and FlyQuest is going to have to answer. They thought they could answer there, didn't quite work out how they wanted.
And you have to question, you know, especially with the context that we got from the coach, where he's talking about we have to survive early, and then at 6, we can look to actually catch people out with Zeri ultimate and Rakan ultimate. Well, they actually looked to contest pre-6. They got punished very heavily for it. So it's, I think, a little bit of hubris to feel that they could have contested in that situation. And as a result, Cloud9 does punish. FlyQuest, though, obviously not that far behind. By no means are they out of it or anything like that. But it is going to be a really nice feather in the cap of Cloud9.
And with Cloud9 taking that early Drake, it means that now they don't have to have any sort of a trade for the Herald on the other side of the map. They can commit to this one and know that they can put a lot of players up there to guarantee they secure it. Spica and VicLa are heading up to try to contest this. Impact coming down now too. Fudge ready to try to keep these guys away. The Herald's gonna go down and Blaber gets focused. He should die here immediately. Spica takes the kill. And now FlyQuest will look for more. Emenes and Zven trying to get out as Emenes is forced to flash over the wall to evade Eyla. Who got the Herald there?
Got
I
it.
didn't see
Blaber got it, and he picked it up. Okay. He got the smite, and he was able to pick it up before he dies. So it is the trait of his life for the Herald. Honestly, not too bad. It is going to be the flash off Emenes as well, but it's flash off impact. It's multiple ultimates down on the side of FlyQuest, so I think they're okay with that trade. Prince, nice little attempt there on the roam. They're trying to keep this pressure on Emenes because one of the things that people have talked about with him, his weakness is sometimes his greatest strength. It is that he wants to play these matchups really aggressively. He wants to try to maximize his advantages here. And we can see because the Eye had already been popped, it's too low for the Eye to spawn again. So they actually just have to be able to finish this off. It's down to 1K, 900. Q, Smite, perfectly timed there from Blaber as spica actually went at that same time, but Blaber does go down, is able to pick it up. And then it's really just about the retreat here. As you can see, Emenes got stunned up in the gravity field. He was getting chunked down, the flash is forced out. I think Cloud9, of course, would have liked to get out scot-free, but still gonna be happy, I think, overall. Grabbing that Herald, it was 200 gold on the kill, I believe I saw, pop up there. Yep. Plus, you get the crash, so it's worth more than a kill overall. And I think they're gonna be pretty okay with it.
We hope you get the crash.
Yeah,
you're
assuming you
we've seen a couple of these Rift Heralds early on, unfortunately, not be followed up with correct planning around the lanes to get a good use out of it. But Blaber still has plenty of time, about 2/3 of the timer remaining on that Eye of the Herald to drop that whenever, wherever he chooses. I'm curious if they're going to drop it mid like we often see done, or if they're going to try to focus more into this bottom lane that's already been the subject of some attention.
Yeah, this is also interesting, with Emenes going double longsword, I'm now wondering if he's just going Vamp into Mythic, because you don't need double longsword, for the BT. You just need the one, so it's possibly just bought an extra longsword because that's what he could afford. But I'm kind of thinking that now he feels like he just needs Vamp Scepter to survive the poke, and then he's going to go in towards a Mythic to try to really ramp up that damage. Blaber here already going to be looking to crash this. We talked about that pushing power that Tristana has. He already has that tower softened up, so it is going to be getting pretty low. Eyla here to match this pressure, but it is going to get the charge off and at least get them that one plate.
Shelly is too big to be held down by the gravity well, so she will charge right through it, collide with the turret, and there's that guaranteed money you were talking about. Meanwhile, topside, Fudge is going all out, and Impact tries to deal with it. The Dominus isn't enough, and he's dominated by the Cassante of Fudge.
Top 9, baby. Fudge called it. It was going to happen. Blaber now catches Spica out here, and Spica's got a flash.
Spica with the flash over the wall to escape that Maokai lockdown. Very, very important to get out of there because the Drake is about to spawn. You kill the enemy jungler there, you guarantee you're able to secure it. But at least now, there's a question mark. C9's looking to turn it into an exclamation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Cloud9 is going to have this for sure. No shot you try to actually challenge this with no ult on Renekton, no ult or flash on the Wukong. They're in such a bad spot. Cloud9 doing such a good job actually controlling vision in these areas and marking all these brushes, with either wards, saplings, or Heimer turrets. They have so many ways to control space, to be able to scat out all of these brushes. And Infernal is really not what you wanted to see if you're a FlyQuest fan here. When a team has heavy poke, as well as, double marksman, this is about as good as it gets on that side. And Fudge just goes for it straight up, flashing straight in, knew the Impact didn't have flash from that earlier Herald fight, feels confident to just go all out, get up on him, and is able to finish him off here right by that turret, the last auto, knocking him down. Fudge feeling good about that.
And I think the reason that
look at the frustration there.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you don't expect the guy to just flash at you, but I think the big enabler for that was Fudge having just purchased his Mythic. Yep. He's got Iceborne Gauntlet. It gives you that extra lockdown. We often talk about how top is a long lane. If you're too far forward, you will be chased down if the guy has extra speed or consistently applied slows. Fudge just bought exactly that, and he knew what he was capable of.
And Impact knew, he just had the Slice and Dice. It's that final auto. I don't think Fudge can hit any more spells or autos after that last one. So Impact is overkilled probably by 50 damage or less on that final auto there. And I think that's why we saw such a big reaction, is he thought with the Slice and Dice he was out. Fudge gets that final hit, and he knows if he didn't get that last auto or he just did a tiny bit less damage, he would have survived. Ult and Flash would have been used for nothing really from Fudge, and his lane would have been in a pretty damn good spot because you can see, even after that, he's still up about 2 waves of farm. So Impact definitely feeling the frustration after that one. When you fall behind tanks as a Renekton, it can become really difficult to apply any pressure in these lanes.
Especially when the tank gets to transform into a bruiser, assassin, diver kill squad at any point when he feels like it.
The whole squad, damn.
Yeah. Fudge
my man is the whole gang.
He is going to be a problem, man. This is going to be an issue if Fudge can keep this up here in the top lane. 3 minutes until the next Drake spawns, so not really a whole lot for the teams to fight around here in the bottom half of the map. You can see we've already got the hourglass timer showing the next Herald's going to be up here shortly. Emenes continuing to apply the pressure onto the mid lane tier 1. Has a little bit of time left before plates fall, and Fudge goes all out again. Impact with the Dominus, trying to get himself away. Fudge looks for the knockback there with the Q3, but Impact's flash keeps him safe.
Yeah, gets him safe, but again, that means no flash now for this pivotal third dragon. Cloud9 has gotten back-to-back dragons. I do think FlyQuest really feels the pressure to contest that this next one. No flash from Renekton is actually such a big deal. It's so much easier to find a slice and dice flash W stun onto a carry and have that guaranteed impact in a fight than it is when you do not have that. And Blaber now in the area here. Impact could be getting baited. There's 4 going top. I think he senses it now, so he is going to be pulling back. He will survive. But it is going to be Cloud9 again with this setup, looking for another objective here. They're just at the objectives on spawn, looking to take a second Herald here, which would guarantee them first turret in mid lane if they want to take it. While Emenes pushes top, you can see Berserker is actually holding mid, but it means that Prince has the faster roam, so the AD is here first for FlyQuest.
Eyla goes in, but nobody else from FlyQuest is in position to follow up, so now they don't have the quickness any longer. Fudge trying to disengage, get back to the safety of his team, but he's already dead. FlyQuest pick up the first one, but C9 are ready to fire right back. Zven ends up getting the kill on Eyla, and C9 just got 2 for 1. Now they've got more manpower left around the pit. Remember, there's no way for anybody else from FlyQuest to get involved in this. They were all already there, and it's all already over. C9 gonna win another fight and take another objective.
That re-engage after Fudge went down was massive, and Berserker had finally made that rotation over. Prince had the first move, so that's why FlyQuest wanted to make that aggressive engage, because Emenes is showing top, Berserker was pushed in mid. They have that temporary 5v3, but Berserker comes over, and as they actually chase in that choke onto Fudge, Berserker is able to find an arrow across 2 members, got so much turnaround damage there, and that allowed Cloud9 to really turn it around. So you can watch it one more time. The extra members are here. Renekton's coming in from the top, so they want to look for this initial engage onto Fudge here. Well, you can see on the mini-map, we've got 80 here, 80 here. So it's a 5v3 right now. But as they push in, they do get this initial kill, but look at all the damage down on the spica. Blaber goes forward, and then right over here, Berserker over the wall, hits the arrow across 2 members, softens them up, gets 1 kill, allows Emenes to fly in there and try to finish off another.
Gotta praise Zven for the proper aiming on the grenade as well to set up those stun targets for Berserker to put the arrow right through him. This bottom lane of C9, 2-0-2, 1-0-3. Scores are looking pretty damn good.
And you also have to praise Cloud9 for their positioning in that. They were in a temporary 3v5, and when you kite back into that corridor, it makes it so difficult to push through saplings, to push through those towers, and you're opening yourself up to those guaranteed arrows that are going to be poking on you. Cloud9 aren't even going to have to drop the Herald to actually claim this mid turret, and now they're going to move in to this bot side river here, try to reclaim the vision. FlyQuest, as I expected, are going to try to contest this, but can you actually hold these brushes against Maokai, against Heimer? It's going to be very difficult. So Eyla here is looking to actually find a flank angle, but Emenes is potentially already on the hunt for him. Is pretty far away though, and he has spotted him.
Oh boy, Eyla jumping back over the wall into the Drake pit, but they were waiting for him. Blaber was already ready, and now they fire out the Maokai ulti and find VicLa waiting here in the river too. Emenes about to be killed by the Chaos Storm, but he gets enough distance to stay alive. He will be able to reset his position.
He can try to steal.
Teleports are unleashed. Spica could try to steal here. He has a blast cone. Fudge tries to knock him over the wall there with Q3. C9 gonna get jumped on. Spica goes in, finds a 3-man knockup, but it ain't gonna be enough. Yet. Berserker's alone, and Impact wants to find him. Shut down over to the FlyQuest top laner, and FlyQuest are fighting back. Now Impact is the target, and the dragon is stolen away by Prince. FlyQuest are holding on for now. They've lost their top, but they traded him away for the enemy AD carry, and they'll take that.
That is such a critical dragon secure there, though it's Prince, I believe, who actually finished it off for FlyQuest. Yeah. If that goes to Cloud9, the walls are starting to close in on this game majorly. Fudge will be able to walk this one out, but Emenes, returning from base there with the TP. He did get chunked down, but he forced out Eyla's ultimate. He was trying to hunt for him on that bottom side. He'd already pushed him over the wall here, and then you can see Spica going in. They're looking for Blaber here, trying to finish him off, but Blaber able to kite back. They drop the ulti turret, but it's Impact getting in onto Berserker there, who failed his flash, I believe, over the wall.
He flashed the wrong way.
Yeah, flashed the wrong way there, does go down, and as a result, Impact is able to get that kill. And just the Zeri autos finishing that dragon off was so big. Berserker knows he goofed it. At least he's able to have a laugh about it. But that is one of those fights where if this game turns around, you're going to think back to that moment and think, had I played this better, we would have been at sole point here at 18 minutes.
So what I think it was, because if you noticed when he flashed,
poke, right?
Yeah, he was charging the piercing arrow. He wanted to put the poke on the lizard, but instead he flashed into said lizard. which anybody who's ever played Varus knows you don't flash into the lizard.
Yeah. I mean, it happens to the best of us when you're playing those poke champs. You're trying to have your mouse, out on to the right side of your screen, actually poke the enemy champion. You try to pull it back to the left really quickly to flash. Didn't do it quickly enough, just a little bit of a misplay there, unfortunately, for Berserker, but does potentially cost them that dragon. We don't know that they would have got it for sure, but there is, I think, a high chance that had he got over that wall, they would have been in a better spot, maybe could have secured that.
But they still are in a good spot objectively in this game. More than a 3,000 gold lead. They have secured 4 out of 5 neutral objectives that have spawned so far. And yeah, unfortunately, this is not exactly where this Herald wanted to spawn.
That's embarrassing.
This is what we were talking about before. Sometimes.
But these boots are made for walking.
And that's just what they'll do.
She's going to walk it in. I think they're going to get this charge off. So Shelly gets a little bit of exercise, gets the charge off.
A little bit of cardio, a couple of high knees in there.
Embarrassment averted, but FlyQuest are trying to set up a potential flanker. Look at that poke over the wall.
Only the Spica clone, but it still looks cool to see the health bar get chunked.
Oh, they're committing to this. TPs are coming in.
Impact was being forced off by Emenes. Oh! Spica's already almost dead. He has to go over the wall just to stay alive. Emenes is ready to follow, and Eyla will just die next to him. Nobody's in a good spot on FlyQuest. Everybody's getting torn apart. C9, they killed 2. One is the jungler, and Baron has just now spawned. FlyQuest have found themselves in a critical blunder and have to try to stop this objective.
Yeah, 20 minutes on spawn. Look at that poke on Impact, though. Gonna make it difficult to walk in. Emenes is getting low. Fudge, though, hits that Q over the wall on Prince, but Prince still in a good position.
Impact is in such dire straits. Even with the dominance, he was too low. He couldn't get in there. C9 get a Baron at 20 minutes and now have a 5,500 gold lead.
This Cloud9 composition just will crush you when you are trying to filter through these poke kind of corridors here. You can see the Varus all over the wall and just commits the ulti W. Most of it's avoided by the clone, but Spica getting low. And as he tries to walk up here, hit by the E, then hit by a grenade. The Q is guaranteed after that. Blaber just goes in to try to finish him off. Eyla has to actually block the ulti. In flashes Emenes. Yes, the stopwatch is there, but it's only going to buy a little bit of time. They're able to finish him off as well. As the Baron spawns on the second, they get 2 kills in the pit, one of them being the jungler. The timing could not have been better for Cloud9. And FlyQuest have got to be so careful about how they're forcing these fights, because if you're not coming from multiple angles, you just cannot get past the towers, the poke, everything, and to enter the fight with anywhere close to enough health to actually win it.
The timing couldn't have been better for C9, and the players they lost couldn't have been worse for FlyQuest. I mentioned earlier how you have these snap engages for your big damage dealers in the form of Wukong engaging or Rakan engaging. If they're both dead, how are you ever going to be able to stop that Baron when C9 is this far ahead? Spica's over here in a potential spot where they might be able to collapse on Cloud9.
Look at Wukong ult. It's almost up. I think that they were waiting for Wukong ult and Rakan ult, and I think they're going to try to just say, we're so far behind, it's time to flip it, and I think they're going to look for a hard engage. If they can't find the angle, they may not, but now Wukong ult is up. They're going to try to look for a hard engage. This could be the game right now.
Berserker walking back further away from his team, and now FlyQuest want to engage, but Eyla's already dead. Spica can't even find his way into the back line, but they do have a shutdown on Emenes. Now Zven gets jumped on. Spica's immediately killed with a shotgun rocket blast. And FlyQuest, the attempt is not what they wanted. There goes Fudge, and there goes FlyQuest. Or do they? Nicely turned around by VicLa and Fly.
Yeah, Fudge getting very aggressive there. He does flash the wall, but as FlyQuest is kiting back, the C9 members are not able to get any damage in during that time, so Fudge goes all out, loses half of his health, and because of that over-aggression, they may potentially actually lose the dragon now, because look at Zven's health. He's really low. Berserker's low on mana. There's no ultimates available here on that Cloud9 side. There's only 3 of them. There's 4 of FlyQuest. They're still going for this dragon. I think Cloud9 needs to leave, or they're just going to int this.
TP's coming back. Emenes is ready to join. He has unleashed teleport behind FlyQuest, so they are ready to continue fighting. The Drake is still C9's target. Eyla takes the blast cone over the wall. Drops a ward down into that brush. However, it's already control warded by C9. They want Fudge to come back.
Doesn't have TP yet, though. It's almost up. It's almost up.
They know they made a pretty big mistake in the bottom lane. They don't want to hard force something else out of stupid timing. Now the TP's coming in. Now Fudge is ready to go. They still might lose this Drake. No! Blaber's got the secure, and C9's got soul point. FlyQuest needs to retreat now. Get out with as few losses as they can. Impact stuck inside the pixel brush. He'll be the sacrificial lamb. Emenes wants to keep going, but there's no way to keep his foot on the pedal. So FlyQuest will disengage with only losing the 1 man, but they also lose the Drake, and now it's soul point for C9.
Yeah, that is massive for Cloud9. A little bit over-ambitious brushes there, from Fudge on the earlier play here. This is the play that FlyQuest was actually looking for, though. Rakan ult was on cooldown, Wukong ult was on cooldown. They're trying to get in, but again, look at trying to funnel through these corridors. Spica just can't really get involved. He does get in finally, but instantly is just burst down because he's lost half his health to Berserker before he actually gets that engage off. Then Fudge goes in over the wall, but FlyQuest are kiting back away from him. So Cloud9's DPS can't really actually connect. Impact with a great flash on Berserker's Q that would have finished him off to survive. And then back to live here, they're able to delay enough time. The Emenes TP's in, then Fudge respawns, he TP's in as well. And Blaber with the beautiful smite secure here onto that dragon, gets them another, and now Spica back to live is getting pushed here. You can see all FlyQuest can look for at this point is setting up traps and brushes, trying to find picks. But it's so hard to do against Maokai. It's so hard to do against Heimer. We're gonna check these brushes very, very consistently.
And this game is pretty much unplayable for Spica at this point. His inventory is a Divine Sunderer and a Chain Vest. You're just not going to have any amount of health left when you go in. We saw how when he finally found his engage in the previous fight, he got off R1, didn't even have time for the R2. Zven just instantly kills him. It's so difficult for him to get any angles here. Eyla suffers from the same issue. As soon as he tries to go in, he's snap dead.
And we're seeing multiple fights in a row. Cloud9 are actually forcing the clone to be used defensively from Spica before he engages. So it's not even like he can, E in, ult, and then clone, and then buy a little bit of time, then Q, and then use R2. Try to actually get that little bit of damage out in a fight. He's just getting chunked down. He's being forced to use those resources before he actually even enters the fight. And Cloud9 are just really navigating this game very, very well. FlyQuest, there's not much that's really kind of going for them in this game. Your hope is for one of those Zeri moments, I think, to kind of bring you back. Barring that, I don't really see it. It is going to be Soul here in 2.5 minutes for Cloud9. They're going to be, full item up on their cores, or at least an item and a half, a half of advantage.
Yeah.
As we can see, both a QSS and a stopwatch purchase for Emenes, so he's not going to be an easy one to take down.
And that's the important part, I think, because if you're talking about item 0.5 or whatever, sometimes the 0.5 is a pickaxe or a BF sword. It doesn't mean as much.
Yeah.
But if your 0.5 is a QSS and a stopwatch, which are both incredibly powerful, activatable defensive tools, that's worth a ton. And Eyla will be forced to fall back from his own red side jungle as C9 are invading yet again. Berserker sees Impact stepping up here in his face in the river, does not want anything to do with that. So Cloud9 staying grouped up. They got everybody hanging out together except for Fudge, who is a little bit further away from the rest of the team. Nearly has his Unleashed teleport ready to go again, but again, not quite there, but they don't even need him. Emenes already killed VicLa. FlyQuest is in a 4v5 before the fight even started, and once again, it's C9 looking to find themselves a dub in the team fight. Impact and Eyla both critically low, and C9 are not willing to let him get away. Speak is their next target, as Prince is jumped on, and Blaber's ready to put these guys in the dirt. Prince ain't gonna pentakill that! C9, ace for nothing.
Clean 5-0 ace from Cloud9. They're gonna be looking to push it down mid potentially and grab the Baron at the same time. They're gonna take Baron, they're gonna likely reset that and try to get Soul as well. Based on how they're moving here in Cloud9, this team fighting it out so well. Massively strong front line for them at this point in the game. And normally Maokai, we're seeing a lot of these kind of hybrid builds, these squishy builds. This is a Jack Show Sunfire on the Maokai. He's incredibly strong. And you see VicLa trying to step up, utilize the Crown of the Shattered Queen there to get some poke, but Emenes pokes it off, and then Berserker just hits him with the ulti, and they just engage and actually get that kill. So VicLa just stepping way too far forward in that instance, but it's hard to blame you when you're this far down. You've got to look for risky angles. You've got to try to find opportunities to turn this game on its head. Unfortunately for them, not able to find it. And then Prince, trying to line him up here, but it's a 1v5. There's just no shot. He's a full item behind Berserker, and he's pretty much a full item in gold behind Emenes. So it's not gonna happen in this one.
When not even Zeri can do it, you know the game has become a landslide in the favor of C9. And now you can see their positioning. It's exactly what you were talking about. They want the soul. They remember that they bungled stuff in the base earlier. Yeah. They lost, well, they almost lost a Drake that they luckily ended up being able to secure afterwards. But now they want to make sure they clean this one out nice and easy. Emenes will be the one taking out this Drake. The rest of his guys, look at the wards in the enemy jungle. Yeah. They're making sure nobody can get anywhere close to this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all Cloud9 vision on this side. FlyQuest not going to be able to encroach whatsoever, so they are going to grab the soul. You can see the stopwatch is actually upgraded to a GA. Emenes is so rich at this point. 7, 1, and 4, has the GA. His QSS is back off cooldown. He's got a BT, didn't even have to spend the flash. there's no shot you're really going to be able to take that guy down. Berserker has his flash. Zven has a stopwatch as well. We can see Spica looking for the long flank. They're going to try to throw a Hail Mary here. It's got to be the perfect engage from Eyla and this Wukong at the same time. You pretty much got to find everyone, which is obviously, you know, an incredibly low percentage play, especially now that Spica has been spotted. So Cloud9 just pushing forward, looking to try to put the finishing touches on game number 1 here.
And with the level 16 on Tristana, the attack range creates such a difficult issue trying to defend these turrets. Spica wants to get away. He has his Guardian Angel, but he's about to lose that just in the middle of 4 players from Cloud9. Impact wanted to go over the wall, chase after Berserker, but he's going to be kited out. They do get a shutdown on Zven. They might just get another one here on Fudge. Nicely done from FlyQuest. They're trying to make their last stand. Prince tries to get himself back, but it's a double kill back over to Berserker. Emenes continues rocket jumping forwards. 2 dead on FlyQuest, 2 dead on C9. Top and support for both sides are out of the picture, and C9 ain't done yet.
Honestly, that's a great result, though, for FlyQuest getting a 2 for 2. In that situation with Spica dying before anything really even happened. I'm surprised they're even able to get that. They burst down Zven before he could get the stopwatch or the flash off, so we're able to get that kill, you know, very quickly, but still the damage has been done. 2 inhibitors are down here. Cloud9 just gonna reset, spend up even more gold. Another item completed for Emenes. Just seems to be able to just get so much money every single time he's out on the map here. And the front line approaching 3 items on both Blaber and Fudge. Almost impossible to get through. And you can see Impact try to go for that big aggressive play onto Berserker, but just gets instantly peeled by Blaber. You know, Berserker's the only person you really target because he doesn't have a QSS, he doesn't have a stopwatch or anything, but he does have a Maokai who's going to knock you off him almost instantly.
I mean, that's one of the issues. These Renekton builds that play like a bruiser that you see in pro play traditionally, they're good at disrupting team fights, but just going in alone on a solo mission to take out a high-value target, he doesn't have the damage. I see a play like that, I think those solo Q torpedo Renektons with Prowler's Claw, Blade of the Ruined King just insta-kill the guy. But Berserker's too far ahead, C9's too far ahead.
And honestly,
couldn't get it done.
Every play you make at this point is going to look bad.
Yeah.
You know, what are you going to do? Are you going to try to frontline against it? You know, with your randoms, you're going to die instantly. You die backline, you don't have the damage. So, you know, you're down 12K, you're down soul, and you're starting to think about game number 2 here for FlyQuest. They're, of course, going to continue to fight it out here, try to hope for those miracle engages that they would need to even have a semblance of a chance in this game. But it is going to be Supers pushing up mid. It is going to be Supers pushing up bot, and Cloud9 here going to likely just let the Maokai ult rip here from the side to push them back and secure this 3rd inhib. They're just going to wait for this next minion wave, and that's when the Supers are going to be coming in through mid and bot. And I think that is where we're going to see this game decided.
FlyQuest has got to have some insane performances out of Prince and VicLa here. The damage has to find the right targets. Everybody else has to block for them. You'll see Eyla and VicLa still defending the tier 3, but Blaber's ready to go now with the ulti. The dive begins. Eyla has the bomb strapped to his head. He's trying to get himself away back to the fountain, most likely. Fudge still just creating chaos here in the front. Prince is down, Spica's down, VicLa's down, everybody on FlyQuest. All they are is waiting for their turn to the grave. It's a double kill back over to Emenes. It's an absolute murder scene for C9, and they'll take game 1.
23-8, 32 minutes in. Every single objective, it felt like, was going Cloud9's way. FlyQuest only able to grab 1 dragon back, but both Heralds, 4 dragons, the Barons as well, all going Cloud9's way. Cloud9 really coming out, I think, with an intelligent draft and some great execution here in game number 1. And I think FlyQuest are going to be thinking back to some of those earlier fights. You know, should they be committing to those fights that early on? We even heard, you know, from the coaches, you know, Jat in the interview, them talking about trying to wait for 6 here, trying to survive that early game, get 6 on Prince, get 6 on Eyla, and start to look for picks on some of these lower mobility champions, like the Heimer and like Berserker here on the Varus. But they didn't do that. They actually fought pre-6. They had a fight that went pretty bad for them that started what felt like a pretty heavy snowball for Cloud9, where they're taking objective after objective after objective. And I think FlyQuest never really was fighting in areas that were beneficial to them. It often felt like they were trying to funnel through corridors, you know, push through brushes, and they're just getting slammed by poke, well, I'm calling it poke, but it's like almost 100-0 sometimes when the Varus ult hits and the Q hits and the ults from Heimer hit. It's just, it was a rough game, I think, from FlyQuest.
And I think it stems from the fact that, you know, they from their own coach, we heard that, yes, their bottom lane is much stronger, right?
Yeah.
You look back in mid lane, Tristana's at the turret the whole time. Viktor is a do-nothing and scale champion. Like, I'm sorry, Viktor players out there, that's what he does. He does nothing, and then he scales, and then he wins. But he doesn't do
Many
anything.
presses are at 35 minutes.
Yeah, but before 35 minutes, he's sitting under his tower, lasering a wave over and over again. So, okay, we've got no pressure bot, we've got no pressure mid. Top side's the one place you might have some pressure, but Fudge is getting solo kills on impact up there. That's 3 lanes losing. It's hard to find yourself in a spot where you can fight back in a game of League of Legends from there.
It absolutely is. And I mean, honestly, early on, Impact was up some farm. He was doing all right in the matchup, but it's funny enough because he actually spent his flash at the Herald fight that they went for, then was down to flash, gets solo killed as a result of it, right? So, you know, I do think maybe FlyQuest needed to be a little bit more patient, give up a little bit more early on to try to prepare themselves and have all of their resources collected and ready when they actually were going to challenge in a fight.
Tough first game from FlyQuest, but a reminder to all y'all, VicLa LCS! LCS in Espanol is the official Spanish language stream of the LCS. This new viewing experience is live on LLA's Twitch and YouTube channels right now. This is a recent thing. We started it up in playoffs. You can scan the QR code or go to lolesports.com to learn more. And with game 1 all wrapped up, we're going to head on over to the LCS lounge to break it all down.
Welcome back to the LCS Lounge, where C9 took a pretty dominating victory.
That's a start.
I'm glad that Azael ended with that first Drake fight and like how much FlyQuest could cede to C9 early, because the fact that they decided to fight that is emblematic of a lot of times during the season where FlyQuest would choose these fights and their comp might not be online yet, and then a team like C9 is just going to take that and run with it.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of our game against C9 where they're playing a poke comp and they control all the neutrals with Maokai. And it's really hard to walk in. Like, you can't tank Heimer poke, you can't take Varus poke, and the sapling set it up so it's easier for you to land that. And it's really hard to play these objective games where Maokai is too tanky, and I think they just need to make an adjustment going into the game where they either have a stronger bottom lane or like they take out Maokai.
There's so many things you can nitpick about this game. The solo kills that happen in the top lane, the itemization in the mid lane, this contesting early from the bot lane, a lot of little problems.
Yeah. There is one specific fight. I know we talked about this last week about how strong Zven's Heimerdinger actually is. And this is a fight right before Rift Herald.
Yeah, Grubhub Dub right here. You can see it looks like Fudge has been caught out, but this is a normal Heimer grenade, but it gets a double stun. It's chained with a ton of Varus damage, and it completely turns the fight. Zven has been so good at protecting the zones that he can protect and getting the most out of Heimerdinger.
Yeah, and before that, he flashed the Rakan engage, so he was able to keep his condition well. And that was a quick, like, 4v5 timer by FlyQuest, so they felt really forced to go in and look for the opportunity there. But when you draft like that, and you don't really have good engage, so that just is, like, well played on C9 side to kite out their initial look. And, yeah, it just looks really easy after that.
Final fours are all the rage this week. We have our last 4 teams standing here in LCS and 1 ticket to Raleigh left. Hold on to your seats because we're in for a wild ride. Use code LCS Playoffs for $5 off your delivery order of $10 or more through April 3rd, and terms apply.
There it is.
So if you're a FlyQuest, what are you guys looking at? What are we doing next
Take Maokai out, learn from our mistake. Like, you know, just take the champ out.
I'd say tank blue side and just take a tank jungler if you can get it.
I think it's more, that's also a thing, but I think it's more that Maokai is just like, even though his AP playstyle got nerfed, it's just like the CC he provides and the space he's able to make for these poke champs is really important. And it limits Blaber from not inting. Like, it's harder to int on Maokai than it is on like any like damage.
And that's the contract play into him, right? You just like, start scrapping him out.
Yeah, so like enable Blaber to int. Obviously he's not gonna like straight up int, but he's gonna look for like more aggressive plays on different champs, but like it just, at least take that skill test rather than like the no skill test of getting poked out.
I like that a lot. I think the hardest thing is going to be just like the lessons they take within the game, because that first dragon fight in general is just not a smart fight, especially since they see a low HP Maokai, and the actual execution of the fight, I think Blaber plays it quite well, Qs the Rakan W, so he actually just does not get CC'd at all. I mean, he later ends up dying, but like, I think that fight is just a tough one. So, I mean, the coach said it, Richard Sue, before the game, assistant coach mentioned, like, just try and hold the door, relax, nothing happening, and instantly before level 6 ended up being hit, they take a losing fight. So I think just in general, just playing it more to the comp.
I completely agree with you, Rez. That first Drake fight is the thing that sticks out into my mind the most. FlyQuest did choose blue side going into game 2, and C9 dominated this game 1, but unfortunately, Mark missed the memo and caught up with Double Lift instead.
Welcome to Catching Up with Double Lift. He is fishing off the coast of Guatemala this week, so instead we have Berserker! Okay, so what is your favorite thing about America?
In LA, just weather, I think. That's it.
Is there anything else you like? Food? Is Korean food better?
I hate any food.
What?
It's really, really salty
Yeah.
and really sweety, you know? I can't eat.
You want this?
Okay.
Yeah, you can have it if you want. Prince told me to tell you, sek. What did I just say? I don't know what I.
What?
Bad boy.
Oh,
Yeah.
so he insulted you. Any response?
Take more. Okay.
Do you think Zven is a good influence on you?
I learned from Zven, like slang, you know? Like,
Yeah.
he's my teacher, English teacher.
What about like person?
He's good people, like he's funny and like he's smart.
He's pretty big too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when I next Zven, I feel like kinda small, so I
You
don't
wish
like
you
it.
wish you were bigger, huh? You wish you were bigger?
Yeah. What is it? Should I this? No way. No, I'm good. I can't.
You want in on this, Daniel? Sure. It doesn't reach.
Oh well.
Sorry. What's your favorite movie?
I like John Wick. Yeah, I like John Wick.
Okay.
Do you want some chocolate milk?
Choco milk?
Chocolate milk?
No, I'm good.
Daniel, don't give it to him.
All right.
Take it away.
I'll give you. I have a straw.
You can put it down.
You want a straw?
You're creeping him out. Do you want Daniel to leave? Is he weird?
No, I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah,
okay.
it's fine.
Okay. Comfortable. Bing bong, skiddly, shwoop de whoop, wham flam, bim bam, damn sham, cam ram, tam ham.
What is it?
You can remove one champion from the game. What champ do you delete?
Yumi?
Why Yumi?
She just played not league, you know?
Right, different games.
Yeah, just W and eat ramen.
What's your favorite K-pop group?
K-pop group.
Ah, we never have enough power in here.
Yeah, I'm so scared now.
Just.
Wait, what did he say? What did you say?
Wow, NA content.
Anyways, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.